welcome to the third installment of our exploration of anti-racist practices within the Scandinavian fashion industry. And with us today, Mona Mohammed Ali of Fiiri Agency. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Now, yesterday we did a little show of hands at the workshop, and I asked out to the crowd of the people that work in the fashion industry, how many of them had companies that represented the population as far as diversity goes, and only one person could say that that was the case of their business, and they had 3 employees in total. So just to say, there's no need to ask you what was the motivation behind starting the business that you're starting.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's clearly a huge problem.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I'd love to hear your thought processes and your inspiration behind starting Fiiri Agency.
Well, ever since I was young, I was born in Somalia and from a refugee, and working in fashion wasn't something that was like possible for me, I think. And my motivation was always to be able to do something to inspire other young girls and be able to work in fashion, to express myself. I come from a Muslim background, so I wanted to develop how fashion and clothes were worn, and having that choice to develop that fashion in a modern sort of way. And throughout my studies, it was always like, a lot of pushbacks all the time, having to explain myself all the time, have to justify what I was doing and why I was doing it. And so after I get 10 years of working in the industry, I moved to Stockholm and, from London, which is such a diverse city. I never felt like I was missing out on something, obviously. But then when I came here, I was just like completely in shock of how people weren't really realizing the problems and the issues, and how we weren't really like communicating, and we weren't really working together as well as we could do. But I think my main motivation is to always support young girls who are constantly told that they're not good enough, they're not pretty enough, that something is wrong with them all the time. And I thought, if I can be some sort of, mentor, or just there for them really, and have these conversations that they wouldn't be able to have with another agent, I guess, and just help them make money really too.
Yeah. Now, going back to the visibility and being seen, tell me a little bit about what Firi means.
So the name is in Somali, and it stands for to look and to see. And it's really sort of not an aggressive, but very like provocative word that's like, look, like we're kind of demanding people to see. So I think that's really what I wanted people to notice. It's like actually seeing representation, seeing, diverse people, seeing people that are underrepresented, who are underestimated. And yeah, just waking people up, I guess, yeah.
You talked a little bit about the setbacks and pushbacks from creating an agency like this. What have been some of the experiences you've had while creating Firi and implementing the values of Firi into the business here?
Whenever I want to work with a brand, if they come to the agency and they're like, we want to work with you, my first question usually is like, why do you want to be diverse? Because I really want to understand brands, and work with them on a long-term sort of basis, and not just this is a trend, or this is just for the time being, or the response that I've had was like, oh my God, it's so cool, we want to work with you, kind of just like have a foot in. I don't know what their motivation really is, but I always felt like it's not always in the best interest of the people that we have or working with me. It's more about making themselves feel good. So I think I have these challenges of really trying to understand where their motivation really comes from, and whether that is legit, and what I can do to really help them realize the potential by working with people of color. So constantly, asking questions, I guess, and always trying to understand where they're coming from and how we can work together to really overcome these issues that they experience, probably, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I know you've had quite an extensive experience and run in the fashion industry yourself, and it was very important for you to create an agency that also represents creatives.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because it's something we've been talking about in these workshops, that there's the visibility end, there's the modeling, what we show through casting, but then there's also all of the politics and structures that happen behind the camera.
Yeah.
I know you agree this is very important, but talk a little bit about that.
I always feel like when it just shocks me that when you do go and study to become a hairstylist or a makeup artist, that you're not really taught to work on brown skin or different types of hair textures. And you can't call yourself a hairstylist unless you know how to do everybody's hair. If you are a hairstylist that knows how to do Caucasian hair, then you should call yourself Caucasian hairstylist and not actually a general hairstylist. And also, you come to set and you need to come prepared. You're a professional, you're getting paid for this. And what I feel that people were being robbed of opportunities and jobs because you are hiring the wrong kind of people to do the job. And if you are going to be diverse and you're going to have a black person or you're going to have, an Indian person, you need to really understand and have somebody who gets it, because you're going to get the best picture then. Really.
And representing creatives and representing models in this industry, what are some of the big complications? I mean, we spoke a little bit about how it's always a question whether the brand is being genuine and wants to make change or is looking for something along the lines of a token. What are you experiencing through your representing these talent, this talent? What are you experiencing that they are up against on set?
It's really like about, first of all, like providing work for these people to just really think about, like not just hiring because somebody is that way, but like really understand what have they done to get to where they are right now. Like, do you think this comes just like waking up one day? Like it's actually taking them a lot longer to get to that position. And I think people should be given the respect and the appreciation of the work that they're doing, really. And it's like you see, it's kind of shocking that you'll be like the first person to shoot a cover, like the first black photographer. You would have this, and it's crazy how like 60 years it would take that long to have that. And it's really just, and also people tend to work with people that they're friends with or people that they're comfortable with. And the issue is like what I always feel, be friends with people from different cultures. Be curious. Go out and really get to know people. And I think if you don't do that, you're not going to get the best of like possibilities that you can potentially get.
Yeah, and we were talking a little earlier about the curious way that you can have what's seen, and then you can have what's invited to the positions of power, to the seats at the table, and so on. One of the experiences that you had in London, even with street style. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. The interesting thing was like when I was studying, there was no way for us to go to the shows, so we would dress up in our collections and craziest clothes that we had and just go to Somerset House and just show up, and we would get featured on like Elle and like when I saw you on like Vogue China and like things like that, but I was like not invited. Like people didn't know who I was, but it's like constantly having to show up and just be present and demand space, because that was the only way of doing it. And we always felt like the same kind of people were being invited over and over again, the same kind of people. And I always wondered, what value are these people really adding? What are they bringing to the table? And I just felt like people weren't interested unless you were somebody. But it's like, who decides what that is?
Somebody.
Yeah, And it's like, so you kind of have to demand space. And I love a lot of designers, like Jacquemus did that with his collection. He just like went to the Dior show and like with his collection, his models, and protested outside, because you just need to wake people up, I think, and people need to be a bit more bold and dare to take more space and not be unapologetic and just be like, this is what I want to do and I'm just going to do whether you like it or not.
Right. Now, as far as the structures go, there's a lot in place right now that makes it very, very difficult to break down these barriers. What would you say are some of the main things that need to change in order to allow companies like your own and others to not just take space, but also to thrive?
Yeah. It's really easy, actually. It's like we've said this so many times. It's like people just need to do their research. Really like know the history. It's not that difficult. We've talked about it so much. We've seen it so much. It's just not new, And I just feel like people need to just, Google. They need to research. They need to ask questions. And I think that you're not going to get anywhere without opening up your mind first and literally being curious and asking the right questions. And if you don't, learn about it, because no one's going to tell you how to do it. And I think that is the first step of making a change, is actually wanting to change. And it starts with you always.
When we look at some of these companies, the existing companies, and the representation is non-existent, how and I'm asking myself this question at the same time, how is that possible? It's 2020. We're taking pictures of these wonderful, stunning people outside of our shows, but they're not invited to the shows.
Yeah. Like myself, that happened to me. Even while I was here, that happened to me. And, people got surprised when I say, well, I was not invited to that. And they're like, why not? And people don't know. It's like, but I do think, I think the worst thing for me is when people say, like, when it comes to models at least, they're like, but there's no models. There's no black models, no black girls. And I was like, we have 30 people we're going to cast on Thursday. Like, how are you not knowing this? And we did this in like such a short time. And it's like, do you not want to see it? Or what are you not seeing? And it's like I could present something that they've already seen, but because I present it to them, they're going to look at it differently. And because when they do it themselves, maybe they doubt themselves. I don't know what that is, really. I don't know what is holding people back. I don't know what people are afraid of. I don't know what people are not seeing, because it's there in front of you. It's really already there. These people have existed for a really long time. They have been waiting to get invited. They have been waiting to be booked. They have been waiting to be seen. And it just sucks that somebody has to make that decision for them, and they can't make that themselves. So I'm hoping that that's what we're going to bring, basically, and being that spokesperson and having somebody who's actually have their back and really pushing them forward. Yeah.
Have you had any positive experiences so far as this movement that we're in, this time that we're in, the collaborations that are happening within Scandinavia and within the Nordic region? And
Absolutely.
Can you share some of those with us?
I mean, it's been like pretty overwhelming how positive it's been, because as soon as I talked about it first in the beginning, or just when I was doing the research also, people like, oh my God, it's brilliant, it's so needed, this is perfect time. And that was before the Black Lives Matter movement happened. And when it did happen, people like, this is perfect time. But I was like, it's always been the perfect time. And it's always been, it's always needed to happen. But maybe sometimes it's like having the right person to do it and having the right time to do it. And now that it's here, people want to. I've seen some people who want to make those changes, but I still have a lot of difficult things. There are people that still ask completely ridiculous things, such as, I can give an example of a company that came to us and they wanted to book one of our models who is a Middle Eastern girl, but she's not Muslim, and they asked her whether she could put hijab on while we have 3 other girls who are black who wear hijab. And my answer was like, no. I will not ask this model to wear it, because that is not what she wears normally. However, you're more than happy to book the other girls who are actually wearing this for real and not for show. So they did apologize, obviously, and they now decided to book the person who does wear hijab. So I think it's good to like have that knowledge and be able to say, no, that's wrong. And then good to be able to still work with them, because you just need to help people change their mindsets, I guess,
Absolutely, and give the education.
Yeah.
One last question. What would you say to people out there wanting to do something similar to what you're doing, or companies that are not quite sure how to get into the game? What would you say?
Well, with our agency, we're actually providing consultancy, where you can book someone to come into your company and actually help you come up with like a strategy on a yearly way of working with people of color, like help you find the right talent, help you find the right models that you feel their personality fits perfect with your brand. What we also could do is the fact that you can support these talents, especially creatives, I think, photographers, makeup artists, hairstylists. I am so tired of hearing there's none. There's none. I've been here such a short time, and I've already found a lot of them. So just do your research and help them build their portfolio if you can. Invite them to a shoot, do collaborations, and take a chance on people. You know, like they're just like anybody else who's starting off. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Mona. Thank you for your work, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.